Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Reiki Lifestyle Podcast. I'm, of course, here with Colleen.
Hello.
And we're excited today to have friend, colleague, fellow LRMT, and so many other things, Kathy Milanowski.
Hello.
So before we get started, just a few announcements as usual. The big one is that our Next Step Reiki and Explore the 12 Heavens courses are open for registration. Registration for those closes January 15th. Those are our year-long monthly training courses. They are in addition to your regular Reiki classes. So you can find more information about that at reikilifestyle.com. If you go to the little ongoing training tab, you'll find more information. We have videos and curriculum, and then we also did a podcast on it. So there's definitely lots of information on those. Also, we have an animal Reiki courses coming up. So we have Animal Reiki 1 and 2, and we have Animal Reiki Master. The 1 and 2 is at the end of January. The Master's at the end of January. And then Colleen is teaching. Oh, and I'm teaching the Reiki 1 and 2 with you in February.
And my master class is actually a co-teach with Sue Machado from Brazil.
Oh,
the one it will be in English, but but she's going to co-teach with me.
Fantastic. And that's the one in February too?
Yes.
All right. And then you're also teaching Karuna Reiki.
Yes.
That one's solo.
That one's solo.
In February as well. So for all of that, go to reikilifestyle.com. You can check out our calendar. You can check out and register for the classes. Okay. Well, so now.
One more.
Oh, sorry.
The Burning Bowl ceremony is January 9th for the distance Reiki share.
Yeah.
And that is January 9th at 9:30 to 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Awesome. Okay. So now to get to Kathy. So Kathy Milanowski, LRMT, ICRT mentor teacher, is the founder creator of the Wisconsin Reiki Center, Healing Arts and Wellness. She specializes in Reiki training and wellness retreats. She facilitates Reiki workshops in person at her wellness center in Deerfield, Wisconsin, and online, both nationally and internationally. Kathy is an expert in manifestation and energy, and she is a sound healing specialist. She was intuitively guided to create and host wellness metaphysical retreats that developed into a heart expansion experience. She also created a course based on her book, Heart Intelligence: Understanding the Power Within. The book and course are designed to help others unlock their highest potential. She offers wellness retreats based on these principles. And she also offers healing retreats in the mystical forest of Wisconsin. Educating and empowering others is essential to Kathy, and she greets each day, every client, and all of her students with heartful personality. She believes it is important to continue her studies for growth and development and to share that wisdom with others. Kathy is a Reiki practitioner and master teacher of all levels of Usui Holy Fire 3 Reiki and Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki, as well as ICRT Animal Reiki. She is a licensed Reiki master teacher and ICRT mentor teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. She's also a practitioner and teacher of holographic sound. She's educated in Jikiden Reiki, Okuden, and Crystal Gridworks, is an animal communicator, all love facilitator, and Akashic Records reader. She's been published in Reiki News magazine and collaborates regularly on important Reiki projects with her peers. Her mentors include William Rand, Frank Arjava-Petter, Patrick Ziegler, Carolyn Musial, Paul Hubbard, Linda Howe, and, of course, the Earth. She lives in Wisconsin with her husband, sons, and cats, and you can learn more about her as you follow her on social media. The website is wisconsinreiki.com. And let's see, you can find her is Wisconsin, YouTube is Wisconsin Reiki Center with Kathy Milanowski. Instagram is Kathy_Milanowski. TikTok is Kathy Milanowski. And then she has Facebook groups and all of that that you can find. We're going to put this all in the show notes. So you can find it in the description with all of the links. And so she's got a lot of things that she has resources for people, such as retreats, business resources, a Reiki group, and then kind of all of the social media stuff as well. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and a bunch of other things. So we'll put that all in the show notes.
She's just multi-talented.
Yeah, because I could read it off.
Multi-gifted.
It would be hard to remember and all of the different things and then trying to write it down fast. And so we'll just make sure to put all the links in the descriptions.
Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome, Kathy. We're so glad that you're joining us today.
Thank you so very much. It's an honor to be with you too. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you with us.
Yeah. Well, so Kathy, why don't we start off by just how did you find Reiki? What's your Reiki story?
All right. What's my Reiki story, right? It's something. So it happened my Reiki story started, what I know about it is in 2003 in January. It started. And that's when I first landed, got a Reiki treatment, and I also landed in a class 2 weeks later. And I would like to share my first Reiki story. And at that time, when I was in class, it was very intense. It was very empowering. And it turned my life 360 degrees because I wasn't in the best of health, guys. I was visiting a hospital regularly. I was on 7 different medications. I felt like I was falling apart, and I needed some extra love. And before I get into this story, it's a pretty phenomenal story for me. Everybody has their wonderful Reiki stories. But I wanted you to learn me just a little bit who I was before I got connected to the Reiki source, and to understand of my developing my trust with Reiki. Because that's a big part of my whole Reiki story, is developing trust within me even deeper. And Reiki helped me do that. And so, like we were saying, that I do have a loving, supporting husband, and I have 3 kids. I have a 35-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And a lot of people will ask my kids, what was your mother like prior to Reiki? And the only one that could really talk about it is my 35-year-old. Because he's known me for a couple decades prior to Reiki. And he will say, he goes, she's the same exact same person. She's loving, she's caring, she's all about her heart space. And people feel good around her, since I've known her, and I'm like, that makes sense. I didn't know some of the terminologies while I was growing and developing, but as a young girl, since I can remember, people liked being around me. I made a lot of joy around life. I was very heart-centered, and I was guided by my heart. And it was very, a lot of people get guided like by their mind, and then they follow their heart or one way or the other. And majority of society goes with their mind, because that's what we're taught when we're little, to read and write and go to school and do this and do that. I mean, I remember my mom putting a book in front of me at age 3, and I couldn't understand it. And I was devastated. Like, these words, after about 6 months of it, I told my mom, I don't see these words the way you're seeing them. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know anything. And my sister was an avid reader, and she was able to read out loud by herself, whatever she wanted to do. And I didn't really follow that, and I didn't understand that. And when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with a disability. And I know a lot of people say, don't say it's your disability, it's not you, but I've learned and grown, and Reiki's helped me through that process. But I was diagnosed with a learning comprehension disability. What does that mean? It's hard to comprehend what this means, because I'll tell somebody and they'll say, you should read this book. Word, when I read it, I could read it 3 or 4 times. And you know how sometimes you could comprehend one time, you read it again, and you comprehend a little bit more, and you read it again, and you get it. Sometimes that never happens for me. And so if something's very like legal or something's very important and it's long, I'll have somebody read it to me and I'll make my decision because I never know what I'm reading. That connection's just not there. All right. So I went through all that all my life. And because I say this, it's because this was not my strong part, where everybody was trying to tell their children to do something, to read and write and follow into society. My parents were like, well, okay, let's see what else we can do. And so I lived in the city, but my grandma had a farm, and that was my sanctuary. I was on that farm and I loved every minute of it. I talked to the plants, I talked to the animals, I understood because I was following my heart, and my heart kind of guided me how look at that animal that way and see what they're telling you. They don't have to talk with words, so I was developing all these different kind of metaphysical skills, but they're really your senses. And I was just that my heart showed me that's all I could follow, because I could push up against the wall with a book and it wasn't helping me any. And so as we go through this in life, I was a very active healer as a young girl with animals and people and things like that and situations. And in my adolescence, I started working with my psychic abilities. And everybody liked the girlfriend that told them how great their day was. It's like everybody wanted to, so people thought I went through school. I didn't have anybody really criticize me or tease me of my disability. Because I had something else to help me work with that. And that was the trust within me. So nothing else guided me but me, because no one else knew how in the 70s how to relate to somebody that had a reading comprehension disability and being dyslexic and things like that. Few teachers did aha me and I got connected. So that's just a little bit. And then jumping to my college years, I went to college and I did dietetics, a nutrition major. And I had the most aha moment is that I was sitting in it with 400 people in a big Coliseum thing. And I was in this professor, and I got there really early and I sat right in front of the professor. And he started talking about biology and a little bit about chemistry going into it and stuff. And I was just going, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get this. This is not going to happen. And all of a sudden I just relaxed and I started doing what I normally do, just breathe in the information. The information would come to me. And I talked to my professor about that. Like, I kind of really understand what you're saying now since you talked about it. And I was right in front of you. And he goes, it's kind of like osmosis, because they knew I had a disability. And they said, you are actually soaking in, like an empath, soaking in the information. And so just come to class and see how you do. And so I did, passed and did everything I did. And so I learned something about myself, how I actually process information. And that was a lot for me, because at that point in time, I wasn't feeling too courageous or confident about my abilities to be intelligent, what society called intelligent, right? But I love intelligence. My husband is a scientist, and I think very high. I just dig scientists. I love them all. And I love how their brains work, because they understand that their frequency is a certain octave, but mine is too. And I learned that we can get together and be, like a yin and yang kind of deal. And so I went through life in my 30s, had a lot of metaphysical little things, little stories, but going in my life in my 30s was pretty hard on me. I started developing migraines. I went to a neurologist. I had other different problems. I started getting different gut issues and things like that. I had it all through this whole time. I developed a panic disorder in my at the end of my teenage life. I was abused, and I developed a panic disorder and was agoraphobic. That means I didn't leave the house. And so it was pretty, so they put me on a whole bunch of different medicines, and then that did other things for me. And I was just in a mess. And so I was really searching out for some wellness. And I went on a site, and at that time, I lived in Seattle, Washington. Before then, I was from the East Coast. So I'm from the East Coast area. And we moved to Seattle, Washington. My husband got a job there. He was doing his PhD work, and we moved there. And I decided to go with, I've done lots of things in my other jobs than Reiki, but my last one was a antique dealer, and I had an estate sale company and I had 15 employees, and we buy out things, very, very busy. And so my health was a big concern for me. And I started going through wellness, and I connected with a lady in Bothell, Washington. Her name was Nancy Merrifield, and I love her. And she touched me. I went to her wellness and never heard of Reiki, never heard of the name Reiki, which I liked it when I saw it on her calendar because my middle name has Ray in it. It's Ray L. So I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I'll go with that. And so I went to her wellness center, and I was supposed to get 15 minutes of Reiki, and it ended up 45 minutes of Reiki. And she says, what do you do for a living? And I told her, and she goes, oh, you're very sensitive. Well, you sure? And I was like, you should come over. I have this gift that it's like sacred space. Things just, relax and go to the light or whatever they need to do. They get cleared out. And so love the Reiki. I was like amazed that another person can heal, because I did that when I was a little girl, and I stopped because I would get sick I was using my own energy. It wasn't feeling so good. And I was amazed that this lady touched me and all this stuff was going on. And at the time, I didn't speak very much with my own panic disorder. I didn't speak very much. I didn't talk. I didn't say anything. I didn't communicate with anybody. And all of a sudden, I felt my throat area start getting like a pulsing sound. And then all of a sudden, it started getting a little painful. Then it went away. As soon as I said, oh, I don't know about this stuff. And it went away. And she was done with the Reiki session. And she said, how do you feel? And then I just start crying and telling her all about how I felt. And she's like, you should really think about doing a Reiki class. And I was like, okay, you can learn this? And she's like, yes. I was like, oh, okay. So my life got busy in the next week, and I forgot about some stuff, but I really liked the Reiki stuff. I was really feeling good. And then all of a sudden she gives me a call. And she gave me an email. And she said, Kathy, she goes, would you like to take my Reiki class coming up? And I was like, oh my goodness, I have 4 or 5 estate sales a week. There's no way I have any room for a weekend class. Next day, for some reason, my whole schedule got swiped clean. And I email her back, says, guess what? I'm available for a Reiki class. And so I took my first Reiki class. And when I went into that Reiki class, I understood energy. I understood patterns. And I was very, very comfortable with that. I was comfortable with me, how my being talked to me. Okay. So I was really pretty firm with that to a point. And so I go in thinking I'm all got it. And people start talking about Reiki guides and all this stuff. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Somebody's going to help you? What's this Reiki stuff again? Because again, I just said, okay, did not read the book, did not do anything. She even didn't give me the book. And when I walked, she goes, oh, I didn't give you a book. I'm like, no, I said, it doesn't matter. And she says, well, here's your book. And I said, as long as I touch it and see you, I'm good. So she laughed, and we went on, and we got connected we went through the whole program. Never heard of the International Center Reiki training. It's just like I was guided to what I needed to do. And I was good with that. And so I was Tibetan Reiki at the time. And so we go into our connection to Reiki was called attunement. And so we had our hands in Gaso, and we're breathing. And I call it a cosmic dance that the master teacher would do, the front, the back, and all that. So I really loved it. And at the time, I was ready to go to the hospital for carpal tunnel syndrome. And I didn't do it because of my job. They needed the boss there, lifting and things like that. So I would never do it. And so I laid my hands here. And I was really in a pain. Everybody else have the beautiful Reiki stories. I loved it. It was blissful. And here I am going, oh, this hurts. This hurts. This really hurts. Maybe I should have told her something, this really hurts. And then all of a sudden, I felt this huge dusting of my head. And my psychic skills kind of flashed back in front of me, which I never, ever, I just didn't remember them. It's like it just kind of went away, and that's how it went in my 20s and 30s. And I got brushed off, and I never will forget, things started flashing in my head. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to blow up. And then I started seeing this film. And I saw this beautiful house that was a Victorian home. And I always loved Victorian homes. And I was like, oh, that's my dollhouse 20 years ago. It made my husband buy me that we never did anything with. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I'm seeing that. That must be my love. And then I seen another place right next to it. And I was like, oh, that's different. And okay. And I hear you're going to teach Reiki in Wisconsin. I'm like, what? I'm in Seattle and I am not teaching anybody anything because I have no confidence. Why would I teach somebody something if I can't read? Right. So I had all this like, oh, no, that's not happening. But then after that, we gave Reiki to other people. And that made everything feel better to me. I was giving Reiki to people and it was channeling through me and I was feeling good about it. I was getting it too. And it just like made my heart feel so good. So the next day I have Reiki 2 day. I get there and we do again. And then again, I go into this Gasso state of breathing and I'm going into it and all these flashes come back again. Now I did tell my husband that's a scientist, everything this went on and gave him a Reiki treatment the night prior. And he was just like, this is really cool stuff, Kathy. This is real. I'm like, yes, it is. And so some experience started happening. And I started seeing the inside of my home that I have now, this beautiful Victorian home, aqua painting, yellow painting walls, really odd. I wouldn't think I'd paint. And here's all these walls going inside my wellness center. And it says, you're going to teach Reiki in Wisconsin. Well, then that blew my whole beautiful thing, my dream, I called it, because I was scared to death again. And so here it goes. My Reiki journey really goes intensely happening is that after I get done, my business partner calls me up and her son has tried to commit suicide and he was 13 years old. And so I ran to the hospital right after Reiki class, went to the hospital. And I started praying and I actually, a Reiki friend came with me that was a Reiki master, still learning this stuff a little bit. And I go there and I go to Children's Hospital in Seattle, Washington. And I get there and we're giving out Reiki. We couldn't touch the young man. He had a lot of different IVs in him, like 92 or something. They were telling me it was crazy. And we gave him a little bit of Reiki. I was giving my business partner Love, her a little bit of Reiki and everything like that. This is a huge thing. And I left. And she calls me up and she says, will you please come? The doctor wants you to come the next morning. And I said, okay, I sure will. And the doctor said, I heard you're the Reiki practitioner. I was like, yeah. And he goes, so how their center is a circle of doctors. So a lot of desks in a circle. And then around was all the intensive care units. And he said, of all the intensive care units, half of them left. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they maybe passed away. And they're like, no, they're doing better. Okay. I was like, okay. And he goes, and the doctors came back from their rounds of 24 hours later and said that they felt what happened yesterday. They felt really happy. Like they went home, they had a good night's sleep. I'm going, oh, well, this Reiki, I could tell my teacher to come, this Reiki stuff's supposed to do that. And it makes me feel good. And he goes, this is a learning educational hospital. Will you give him Reiki every day? Because something happened. It was a miracle. His liver stopped and they got a new liver. And for being 13 years old and almost committing suicide, you're really low on the list of getting a new organ. And they said, if you continue to give Reiki, we will give him this organ. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. What am I going to say? So every other day I went and gave him Reiki, gave him Reiki. And to sum it up, in a period of 2 weeks, they were thinking that they're going to put him in the Ronald McDonald House for the medications he's on and stuff and read them out. And I think it was 3.5 weeks. He never went to the Ronald McDonald House. He went to school. And I was like, whoa, this is something. This Reiki stuff is something. This, you know what I mean? It's like you go through Reiki and you get these experiences and it's really nice to get the confirmation, to bring that through and go through. Well, I was still on my major healing journey, still am. And a week later, so he what was going on with him is that he was gay. He's gay, and they weren't too nice to him all his life, and so that's why he tried to commit suicide. And so we were going to there was going to be a visual, like I don't know what they call it, but a group of people, and a priest was a clergyman was going to be there and do like a prayer or something for him. My business partner calls me up and says, I just don't want to go there. I don't want to be with that community, but will you go? And I said, yes, I will. I have a lot of used candles for my estate sales, and I'll hand them out to people. And that's what I was going to do, because I didn't talk to people. It was lucky I went out. I did what I needed to do, and I did it. That's how my function was at that time. So I went there, and all my employees were there because they were trying to support everything. And they saw me, and they were a little closer up in the middle. And the guy was doing his thing, and I was handing out candles. And he didn't say anything about the young man. He didn't say anything about giving him a prayer of love. And this is the first time I ever spoke out loud, and it still tears me up. Something came out of me, out of my heart, and I said, what about blah, blah, blah? What about him? Give him love. Give him a prayer, please. He needs it. And everybody turned around and looked at me. My employees, some of them were crying. They're like, oh my God, she just screamed, and you could feel her, she really wants this. This was important to her. And I started learning, Reiki helped me do this. Reiki helped me do this, to be who I am and what is important to me, and to step out of that uncomfortableness and to work with that, and then I realized, you know what, this Reiki stuff has something going on. And this is going to help me with my panic disorder, me doing what I think, and letting people share and just cultivate love, right? And don't even think about teaching yet, but just to share and cultivate, be in that space, that sacred space that Reiki offers, And so I kept on going through. So to speed it up, January of 2013, I learned Reiki. I get my master's. The day after I get my master's, a lot of things were coming on. I was getting a little bit more tuned with my psychic sense. And my husband comes home. I'll never forget, a little early, he says, my whole company went down under. It's a New York company, went down under. And he goes, don't worry. We ain't moving to Wisconsin. We are going to stay here in Seattle. I know what I'm doing. It's all good. And he's a particular scientist, organic drug discovery scientist. And so all over, after a couple of weeks were going down, a lot of people in different countries were asking him to have a job. And he knew he didn't want to take his family out of the country. And he came back and he looked at me one day and he said, you ready for this? And I said, what? And he goes, I got 2 job offers. And you really have to think about them. I said, okay. One's in Ohio. And I looked at him and said, well, I do not mind Ohio people. I love Ohio people. And I have relatives there. But something with the earth and me in that spot, either I have to heal or whatever. It's not like on my list of where to live. And he said, in Wisconsin. I said, are you kidding me? And he goes, no, I'm not. And I was like, wow, okay. So he goes to Wisconsin to try out the job, because I was like, you better try it out. And then we'll see. Because I just found my Reiki community. And, in Seattle, there's a Reiki master every block. Wisconsin, there's a Reiki master maybe every 10 miles or 20 miles or something like that, maybe a little bit more, So I was like, oh, no, this is not going with my flow. No. And so I started really reaching out and learning different other modalities and learning and growing, and why my husband's going to work in Wisconsin. He really likes the job. So we go, I said, okay, I'm coming down here. This was the 22nd house that I lived in, and it is the Victorian home. And right next door is my wellness center. And so now I got here, decided I will get here. Now, am I really going to teach Reiki? And I had to and the hardest thing for me as a practitioner, a beginning practitioner, I don't know how you guys are, but it's how to explain what Reiki is. Like now I do, but it's really hard. It's really hard. So then I had to go to this village that I live in, under 2,000 people, and it's a hunting village, Deerfield, Wisconsin. I do love them. The farmers are great. I mean, they know what's going on with Mother Nature. So I had to go for 3 hours and get my business approved in different tiers. So they had the founders. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, now I have to talk. Are you kidding me? I got to talk and get this approved. What if I don't get it approved? I have this place and what am I going to do with it? So I get there and I talk to the first layer of people. Okay, they were younger. They were in their 30s and early 40s. And the next level were people my age in their 50s and 60s. And after I sat down, this really older man came in. And I looked at him. And he just stares at me. I'm going, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good. I'm really worried. And I'm just giving myself Reiki. And I'm really worried. And this means a lot to me. And he keeps on staring at me. And then they get done. They said, now the founders are coming up. And they all come up and he stands up. And I'm going, oh boy, this is not going to be good. Reiki, please, 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 please. I'm saying inside, oh, Reiki, please help me. And he goes, before we start this, I would like to talk about this young lady. And he points to me. And there's quite a other people in the businesses are getting things approved. Okay. I'm not the only one. I was like, oh boy, this ain't good. And he goes, I came in here. And do you guys remember this young lady that lived here 15 years ago? And I guess she was a Reiki teacher. And they called her by name and they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And she has really good vibes, right? Felt good, huh? And they're like, yeah, it was an asset to Deerfield because she's nice. She was nice. He goes, well, I walked in here. I don't know that young lady, but she has the same vibration, like the feeling. She feels the same. I was looking at him and he goes, and I read, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's that Reiki stuff. And he goes, I just want to tell everybody, some people might think it's this or that, but he goes, it feels good. I had a Reiki treatment. And I looked at him and I said, anytime you want a Reiki treatment, you just come on over. He's never done it, but, so everybody approved but one person. And I got Reiki approved. And it showed me then another part of developing my relationship with Reiki for myself and realizing Reiki empowers everything I do. It's like it clears me out. It helps me connect to who I am and allow me to be who I am without worrying or nervous or any kind of stressors that I have. And that's why Reiki is like my best friend. I mean, we could go on story and story and story. And it's just, and all those stories help my relationship with Reiki and to myself. Because that's what it does. It empowers me to who I am. And I wasn't really, and it helped even reading. It helped my comprehension, helped me trust myself, but it also gives me discernment that says, hey, that's important. Why don't you reread that? Or why don't you get somebody else to read that for you, and re-say it to you. So you kind of understand really what they need and what they want. So yeah. So that's just a little bit of the beginnings of my Reiki story and how it worked with me.
I love it. And I actually know Nancy Merriweather, or I knew her. Yeah. I taught in Seattle and she was already a Reiki master and teacher and stuff by then. But she came to my class and yeah, a couple times. So I haven't taught up in Seattle for a little while now, maybe even 10 years now. It's gone by far, but anyway, you said her name. I was like, well, I know her.
I saw your eyes light up. I was like, oh, she knows her.
I know her.
I used to call her my Earth Mama, Reiki Mama. I was like, I love you. Thank you for being so kind and sweet.
Well, as always, we all learn from each other.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot from her as well.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really wonderful. Really wonderful. Yeah.
Well, now that you started, go ahead and tell us what's the scoop now? Here you are, you're in Wisconsin and you have your center and yeah.
Oh boy, what's going on? So when I got here, it kind of went fast forward, but I needed a little bit of a pat on the back. Okay, Kathy, this is you're okay. And I got here, and how to give me a pat on the back is get to my heart. You got to get to my heart. You got to talk to my heart. And we had this garage sale 2 days after we moved here. And my husband's like, you might not want to talk about the Reiki stuff now. Okay. Just relax. And I was like, So I sat with Reiki for a while And I sat with Reiki and I realized, oh, I'm going to talk about it. I'm pretty sure I am. And so I sat out my table and selling some of my antique stuff. And these ladies came. And I am not kidding. At that day, this has never happened before in this area. 11 Reiki masters came to my tent and they all told me different things. One person said, you cannot give Reiki to your plants. A couple people told me you couldn't give Reiki to humans. And I started crying. I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? This is why I'm here. I got to learn this Reiki stuff. And you know what I mean? So in a period of a year and a day of being here, since my first connection to the Reiki source, I taught my first class. And then 2 years later, I decided that let's take William's class and do Holy Fire, and then that just totally, completely changed my life. And recognizing the information that opens up to me from Reiki, to help develop other things, to help develop me and to develop what I'm supposed to be doing here on earth, and it feels good when you feel that accomplishment or you're on that path. And how that worked was, I'll never forget, first time Holy Fire, when I got connected to Holy Fire, boom, it happened again. And I hear, you got to do the Akashic records. I'm like, no, that's not what's said to me. I'm like, this is supposed to be just Reiki, and it said, you need to open up with the Akashic records. And with a lot of confirmation, and 6 months later, I learned the Akashic records. And I learned that, your intuition, your imagination is in the same house of your mind and logic. And you have to love that. And I'm so strong here, I needed to start loving my mind and the guidance my mind gives me, right? And so I started learning that and welcoming that. And it helped with my Reiki classes, bringing students in and things like that. So I thought that was really neat. And my students started saying to me, Kathy, I really like your center. I want to sleep up here. How about you let me sleep up here? I'm like, I'm an introvert. So I was like, oh, not the greatest idea. Okay, I'm not comfortable with that yet. And I hear my heart saying, you need to start doing retreats. You need to start doing retreats. And I'm going, not comfortable with that either, and I just told myself, instead of saying no, is that I'm not ready yet. And so Reiki took that as, okay, we'll get you ready. And what happened was it took 5 years, right? So it takes 5 years. I get into the license program of the ICRT. And William, mostly every year, he offers the LMRTs to get together for community and visit his place in Maui. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care how scared I am. I don't care if I don't know anybody. These people I'm going to have to, I love. They do Reiki. They have to be about love. So I go there by myself and I met wonderful people, fell in love with everybody, and said, I like this. This is Hawaii too. I mean, how can you get wrong, right? So I was in love with the whole thing. I felt really good at the whole thing. So the next year he has one. And Karen Harrison asked me, she goes, would you like to help co-host it? Help me with this. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, and I didn't even put everything together until way later in life. And I was like, okay, that would be fun. I'm an event planner. I could do that. Easy. I'll help you. And I have a nutrition background. So a lot of people are licensed teachers. They're very perceptive about what they put in their mouths and what they put in their beings. And it could be really tricky to do a meal, even one meal a day with a whole bunch of people. And I was like, I could do this. This is my thing. So I did it. And so everybody really liked it and liked the little ideas I put out there. And I loved being Hawaii. They still didn't think anything about it. And then my friend Karen was like, you really helped a lot of this. Is more than you think you are doing. You're really doing this. And she was kind of helping me see what I was doing and how Reiki was helping me through this. And so I was like, I agreed with it completely. And so then the third year, and she goes, how about you? The Karen Harrison asked, and said, would you like to co-host with Karen Cag to the retreat? I was like, I would love to do that. Like, I could really have the power of doing what I wanted. Yes. I was like, oh, let's have fun. Let's meet once a month. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I had a really good time. And some things are already in the program, but then right at the end, we were staying all together outside William's home for a couple days. So I had to put that together and really listen to Reiki. The night before, the morning of the day before of the retreat, Reiki comes down and I feel it. And I had to get a hold of Karen Kag. And I said, listen, we need not to go into the hotels. We need to rent a house and go and have it. And we're going to get rooms. Everybody's going to have their own room. And she's like, okay, whatever. We look it up and there was a house. It just came on whatever the little sites they are. And so we called everybody up. Everybody like was on it. They're like, yes, we'll do this. The hotel gave us all of our money back, which that was weird, right? And we put Reiki to the situation and we were like that. And so we got this home. It was beautiful. It was right by the water. It's right by the grocery stores where we went and did we saw some vents and stuff. It was right by there. And I allowed Reiki to come through and listen. And I listened to that guidance. Still didn't get it, what I was doing for myself. But I got it right after I got home, and I called Karen Kag and I said, listen, I've been told for years and years and years, and I'll tell people I should do retreats. I need to do retreats. I'm like, whatever. And I know events and I know how to do things. So I got that good. And, but I kind of want somebody to do it with me because I'm a little shy about it. I don't know if I have it, the confidence. And she's like, I'll do it. I said, well, let's do it in 3 months. Okay, let's do it in 3 months. We did our first retreat, and it wasn't a Reiki retreat, but everybody was Reiki, and it was a wellness retreat because that's what my heart wanted, is some people to feel the relaxation and reconnect and just receive and just get that wellness of anybody, right? Anybody. Or if somebody has Reiki, they could bring their partner and, whatever it is. I had everything. When Reiki first told me to do this and I said no, I found a facility right away. And it was a beautiful facility. And so me and Karen did our first retreat and it went well. We were like, oh my goodness. And then it just kind of like worked with me and said, this is what's going on. You are, you're going to develop a little bit more heart consciousness and able to teach some things and learn a little bit. And that's how I got with the heart intelligence class and the empowerments and things like that, is that Reiki was right with me. And the ICRT was right with me. They didn't even know about it. You know what I mean? Because their empowerment and their love that I was invited to and able to cultivate who I am and be who I am without anybody judging me, without anybody saying, nope, you're not good enough, Kath. No, how about you are good enough? And here's the reasons why. And why don't you shine some light into that and be who you are? That's what did it for me. And that's why I love the ICRT, because of the people and how our community gets together and does things. And not everybody knows what they're doing for each other, if it's going to help or not, but we have faith, we have that communion. So yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm doing now. I'm working with myself. I just got my book copyrighted, so I'm going through that, and I'm launching my classes, my Heart Intelligent classes in February. And so I'm going to have some online and some in person, and then my retreats will always have it too, because that's what I am guided to do. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Kathy, it's inspiring the piece too about how you're allowing, or I should say how Reiki is coming in and supporting you in your, what's the correct name of your disability?
Oh, it's a comprehension. It's a reading comprehension disability.
Reading comprehension disability. And then you've written a book now. Do you want to talk a little bit about that process? Because I feel like too, that there's probably people that are listening that may even think, especially with having manuals as a part of the classes, like, am I ever going to be able to get this or teach, or then let alone write an entire book?
Yep. Like I said, I've always been trusting myself, and my heart told me to listen to Reiki, to listen to and give myself Reiki. I give myself Reiki every day. Long time Reiki every day. And it helps with a lot of different things, and also helps with the connections with my head, with my head coming outward. And I've been working on it. And one of the things that as an LMRT, you do have to, you do have to write something. And I was very, very, very nervous about that, Robyn. I actually cried before I did it. And I gave myself Reiki. And then again, Karen Harrison calls me up out of the blue and she says, "Hey." I'm like, "Oh, hi." And she goes, "Have you ever thought about just talking into your phone? Like on Google, you say you use Google stuff, talking into for voice. Why don't you use voice to say what you want to say and then go over it and have some people go over it?" And I did it. And it was wonderful. I wrote my first, my paper. I just said what I wanted to say. And then, but I never read like a book. And then after I got this summer, I said, okay, here's all this stuff coming down. I have not written anything. What am I going to do? I have no idea. And I went on a little family vacation to the Mount Shasta region up in North California. I'd never been north in California. So we went all the way up there to Craters Lake, all the way around. And we just did like a little thing about all the natural. And it was tough. It was really tough for me to go up those mountains and stuff like that. But I got a lot of clarity and I got a lot of, probably I need a little bit more motion in my life and exercise. And I came back. And when I came back, I could start getting this guidance. And again, I hear, it sound like Karen's voice, use your voice, use your voice. So I sat there on my computer and I started using my voice. And in a period, I'm not kidding you, Robyn, in 3.5 hours, really it was like 2.5 hours because I was like arguing with myself, I wrote 32 pages in my book. And so this is like a phrase. So I wrote 32 pages in my book. And when I had some people correct it, they're like, "What did you do?" Because we're not correcting hardly anything. There's no grammar things going on or whatever. Now I did just buy Grammarly. I said, this is worth it. Right. And I do want to be professional. I do want to work. I want people to see me as an intelligent being, not like something like out here and not grounded, because I am grounded and I am intelligent. So I would tell people that work with yourself, be kind to yourself. Don't tell yourself if you're like, "Oh, I'm stupid, I can't do this," just say, "Okay, wait a minute. This is very hard for me to do, but I'm going to take the time and the love and help. And if I'm a Reiki practitioner, give myself a lot of Reiki to help with this and watch what happens, what kind of experiences I get in the rest of my life, in the beginning, what kind of things that Reiki's helping me learn to develop this skill."
Yeah.
To feel confident to let the energy flow and get information. Just because you don't know how to read or write or maybe do math or something, you can get around that. There's a lot of things. We got a lot of programs now, even math programs. We got calculators. We got all that stuff, so it's kind of like use the tools that you get and be aware what Reiki brings to you for those tools, and that's why I have all the tools on my list is because I went crazy and said, "Hey, I need this to help me." Through that process.
Well, I think that's it's an important point because we talk about that often too, is that, Reiki does fix things. And then other times Reiki helps us to find solutions to things that fix things. So I love that is included, that it guided you to the solutions to help you with this as well. And I would wonder too, it sounded like your parents were relatively supportive of helping you to be, to encourage the, parts of you that your whole being is intelligent, but the parts of you that were more, that you were more led, that were leading you more at that time in your life. And so, I know that's not the experience for everybody, that they might have had them trying to fit into the box that, like you said, we are culturally. Do you find that with people, there's that healing of that culturally created piece for them that maybe, that had maybe the opposite experience as a child, being, maybe more like forced to lead with their mind in the way that our society, do you have any thoughts around that or experience with that?
I married a scientist. He leads with his mind. He is completely, as I am metaphysical, he is in the logic. I mean, he's all the way out here and I'm all the way out here. So, I would say is develop self-trust. You
Mhm.
got to develop self-trust. And even my husband will channel some messages once in a great while, like once every 6 months, and say something. And it's like, oh, but he trusts himself. You know what I mean? It's out of his league, but all he like, yep, that's how I feel, but I never.
Oh, Kathy, you accidentally muted yourself.
Oops. I
There
said,
you
I'm sorry. It's you're a little out of his league for doing it, but he said he trusts himself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And he allow himself to be able to listen to him because he's like, a lot of scientists and people that do a lot of logic, they do understand that they have answers within themselves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They are always working hard to get those answers out, but maybe by numbers and digits and things like that they try to figure out, their life or whatever. And maybe they're not emotionally aware as some people, because they're using their logic a lot more, their minds. And I just ask, I tell my husband, it's like, try to understand emotion a little bit more, because he's a little off on his emotion, and we'll have like little meditations together or little different things, and we'll just sit with an emotion, and so he will be able to connect with it a little bit more, and that's a little different for him because he's very logical. And so I would suggest anybody is to give themselves love. I'm sure they believe in themselves in some kind of level. Like, I could believe that I'm alive. I'm a believer that I could breathe, and I am a huge being. And read the book, the Reiki book. My husband read the Reiki book, and he says this is a good book. This can be very logical too. It's whoever written it, he had no problem with the Reiki book, and he's about the logicalest person I know. So it's like you could go logic and look at Reiki, and you don't have to. You can be emotional. Nothing's right or wrong. And Reiki, and if they give themselves Reiki every day, guaranteed they're going to start being able to navigate within themselves, and to navigate with their emotions, and navigates with their logic or their imagination or anything like that. I do believe that. Do that.
Well, we often talk about intellectual intuition
Okay.
and call it clair intellect, because the logical intuition is equal to creative intuition. It's just done in a different way.
Yeah.
Engineers, like you say, very left brain people, they're using their imagination. It looks differently, but it actually is the same brain function and ability.
Well, they're all there together, so
Yeah,
it's not
it's all
like,
there together.
yeah, they could argue together too.
They do.
I know that too,
Being very right brained, I'm always like, okay, logic, come on in. Left brain, wake up. Well, left brain. So.
Hey, this is a pretty cool fact. Did you know your brain and your heart are the only two organs in your body that has electricity to it? It has a polarization, and it has, yeah. And it is actually a scientific thing. And your heart actually has its own little like universe in it, and your head does too. The whole thing, not just one piece. So it's pretty neat. And so when we connect the three things together, a lot of different things will happen. You know what I mean? That harmony comes, right? We all talk about that in Reiki, the harmony. I mean, we even have a symbol to connect our minds and our hearts to help, right? I mean, Reiki's like already at it. Like, hey, we know what's going on with your human being, so it's kind of neat how Reiki works with us and does what it needs to do to help us.
So since we have people listening about that, then you said the symbol, you don't have to say the name of it, but you can say which generic one it is.
The mental emotional symbol.
Okay. Yeah.
The mental, yeah. I didn't want to say the symbol name, but yeah, the mental emotional symbol, and it does, it works. It works because, it always works with your emotions and your mind. And if you have anything that you're stuck on or rooted, like an addiction or something like that, it's because your mind and your heart agree to it. So let's put Reiki to that and that symbol to help break that up, because right now maybe it's not good for you, and you need to relax and open that up. But if your mind and your heart agree to something, it's pretty much rooted. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or neutral to you. It's, what I mean? You agree to that. So it's a little harder. And so that's why I love the mental emotional symbol. It helps do that. Yeah.
So is that what your book is about?
That's what I was going to ask too.
So my book is about heart intelligence.
Say the name.
Yep. It's about heart intelligence, the power within. Okay. So learn.
Oh, Kathy, I accidentally muted you. Sorry.
That's all right. It's about your heart space and your heart space communication through your higher heart space. So your higher heart is like a little gateway getting into a different kind of or realities or dimensions, and that information comes to you, and that's always would come to me. And so that developed learning how to talk about it and to and teach it. And so, and then some of the parts of the thing is okay, you give me this nice little empowerment and what's going on. And it's about people learning their own matrix, learning what they could do with their skills and their tools and talents, and opening that up a little bit and clearing that out a little bit more. So like my matrix is different from y'all's matrix. Same thing. You know what I mean? It's whatever you learn, your experiences and all that. And so with all the things that I learned and received, I was able to develop these empowerments to just help people open up that little gateway, to understand it, and then give them some tidbits and understanding about how the heart and the brain does work together, and their electrical systems of themselves. And then just little notes and things of how people could live a better life. We all know food and nutrition and all that stuff and daily exercise, but there's a lot of different things that people might just forget about, that adds years to your life. And so I put that in the book, just little things like, did you know that if families live together, that actually saves years on the whole life? Not that mom comes in at 90 years old and you have to take care of her like deal, is that if mom came at 60 years old and you all lived together, but that's not our culture. That's not how we do it. But y'all live together. She helps with the kids and she helps, she's vibrant and she's able to help you. And then when she gets older, it's not a big flash and you help take care of her. You know what I mean? That actually gives years, instead of just mom's sick, now I have to take care of her. You have those good times with mom too. You have those times with the kids with mom. You have times that she's developed living with everybody. You know what I mean? It's not a shock thing. And so that actually adds like 4 years, they say, to your life. But that's little things, like little fun tidbits like that, just to get people thinking and being able to work with each other, like connection. Being with people, going outside, take a walk with somebody, to establish that community and able to feel worthy. One of the big things for men is that they, at years on their lives, when they feel like they have a purpose, they don't have to work a lot. That's the problem. They shouldn't work a lot. It's just that they have a purpose and they're active in their purpose. And it doesn't matter what it is. There's no judgment on it. It's just that they're active. It's very important for their biological being to find, even it's for us too. But you know what I mean? It adds like 10 years, they say, on somebody's life. It's absolutely astonishing, So it's kind of neat. I got some of those tidbits information is this one thing called the Blue Zone. And this guy just done research for many, many years. Yeah, it's on like Netflix and stuff. And this guy's done research for many, many years and wrote about it and things. And people in different areas have lived over 100 years old. And there's stuff to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff. I talked to Karen Kagan. She lives in Ecuador now, right? Mm-hmm. And she says, when Jay's moved up there, right? And he stayed with her for a couple of weeks while his house was getting built, and everybody around her didn't understand why they only just live together. Why don't you live together? What's wrong with that? You don't have to be like loved like that, but why are you moving? Why don't you live with him when he has his house? That's what people do. They all live together. You have lots of space, but it's not our culture. our culture, we like a lot of space. You know what I mean? Like her bedroom probably could fit 4 or 5 people in it, and people will be happy about that because that's their culture. That's how they've been taught. And things flow very well with them. So it's just kind of neat how people live and I just been really into doing a lot of research, how people live and how people thrive through different things, even though culturally we might look at it and go, that's not for me, but that's okay. Try something else.
Well, I'm thinking of the multi-generational housing and family, and, it seems as if the trend will go back that direction. And then I also think there's another great reason to have Reiki, so that culturally we can all live in the same house together.
Right.
So, although I say that, but we lived with my mother for the last 7 years of her life, caregiving her, and actually it went great.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. Oh, the multi-generational housing really is realistic.
It's realistic. It's human. We're human beings. And did you know that Singapore, they give grants to okay, so Rob, I'm not saying do this, but like your mom lives one area, right? And you want to live beside her. So she lives in a house that it's way too expensive for you to move in. They give grants to people to buy houses by their parents.
Wow.
Like really close, like in the same development, like right there, because they know the need to take care of your parents, and them take care of you. You know what I mean, kind of deal, and not be a big stressor about it. It's just a common thing. It's not like, oh, you're in my space, kind of deal.
The way it all works.
Mm-hmm. So it's just little aha moments, and that's what the class is about. It's like little aha moments, like, hey, did you know this? And we're, look it up, figure it out, see if it works in your life and how it is, So yeah.
So I think one of the questions, because you were talking about men finding their purpose, and I think all of us do that, that's important to each of us in however that shows up. But what kind of things are you teaching about the how-to for that?
For the purpose?
Yeah, well, and purpose, or just some of the heart connections. Like, what are some of the how-tos to get there?
Right. So what I do is in the classes and even in the retreats, I do little workshops. And so we do like little group activities. And so people are connecting, you know what I mean, and talking and doing through these things, these little activities. And it helps really. I'm getting a lot of, I launched it at my last retreat in November, and I've been getting phenomenal feedbacks from people. Now, there were no men there. Okay. But there's a lot of women there, and a couple of the people were not Reiki, and they're the ones that are having really phenomenal results. Like, because, Reiki kind of guides you with some of the stuff, like eat a little bit better, do a little bit more exercise and things like that. But it seems like the little workshops that, you're talking to somebody and you're doing these things, that it kind of starts bringing you out and giving you some clarity for like their purpose. Like the longest living men are goat herders. Goat herders. Sure. Yeah. In fact, that population, half of them, like all the centennials, the 100-year-olds, usually is half, 3/4 is women and 1/4 is men. It's half and half. That says something, right? That says something. And so it's kind of like giving them, a lot of men, they'll go through they won't connect to their purpose. It's just like us. It's like our culturally created self. It's like your dad tells you have to be a doctor. Your dad does this, do this, do this. And you really want to be a goat herder. Okay. Or whatever you want to be. And if you don't find that, and you don't have that clarity of what you want. So that's kind of like my first step, is getting that clarity and getting that focus of what makes you happy, what makes you tick, what makes you want to keep on going and develop. Is it drug research? That's fine. Then start working with some research. It's like whatever you want to do. There's nothing to stop you. So it's kind of like when your mom says, the sky's the limit, just do it, and it's like, okay. And sometimes And then just they get so stressed out because what is expected of them and what is needed and what they have to take care of, you know, like their family or whatever they're doing, or their family, their name, their family name, you know, and this and that. They have a lot of stress. And when they start getting that little bit, that clarity, they start working on it. And then I just start doing their little games, and it just really helps. And it helps them to get clear and start writing down things and then start developing them in their life and feeling it's okay to do that. You know, I'm not telling them to go change their job or change their function or anything like that. But maybe if they wanted to be an artist and they're really an engineer at trade, maybe they could go take some art classes and develop that, or just sit there and paint a little bit outside if they wanted to, or wherever they wanted to go to nourish that, to develop so they feel good. Like I'm not going to be an artist, but maybe I can be. But right now I'm an engineer and I'm like fulfilling my life a little bit more. I'm feeling good about that.
Absolutely. Well, and I think sometimes we confuse job with purpose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes we have a job and our purpose is something very different, or not different, because you can fulfill your purpose in your job too, but it's not always the same. I feel really fortunate that feels like Reiki allows me to fulfill my purpose. But I also feel like I did that in all my other, well, I've always had businesses, but all my other businesses, it still fulfilled my purpose, just in a different way, which was, now what I know is just contributing wellness in the ways that I can. Yeah. And so sometimes that's just through friends, that's maybe just being kind to a stranger in a moment. Sometimes it's, part of my jobs. Well, it's always part of this job, but prior to this and in my previous businesses. So I think that's the other piece, is finding that your purpose. Like I remember one of my first Reiki sessions years ago, and somebody asked that, and they said that person's purpose as a child showed them as a child noticing the beauty of a dandelion in the crack of a sidewalk. How the child just stopped and saw that dandelion was in, oh, beautiful. And that was an expression of that person's purpose, is to have those moments just like that. And so it always, actually, that has led to a whole thing on dandelions for me.
I could feel that.
I know.
That was beautiful. I felt all that energy come through that. I was like, wow, that's a nice story.
Well, it's so true. And every time I see one, and they're just these little flowers with their yellow faces facing upward, and they grow anywhere in what would seem to be impossible. And they grow anywhere, and they're just extraordinary. And I know a lot of people see them as weeds, and of course, if they're,
dandelions are starting to get their due.
Yes.
People are recognizing the power of dandelions now.
They are great. They take water from your body. You could drink it from a tea. I mean, you could have the leaves for a salad. Yeah. In Wisconsin, I don't say dandelions they're flowers. They're flowers in my yard. I love them.
Well, you probably learned a lot about it then with your nutrition studies.
Oh yeah. Dandelions, I even asked my husband, because he does plant biology, and I was like, why would you consider a dandelion a weed? That a weed to me means it's something that you don't want, or you get told it'll go crazy and take over everything. He goes, well, it will take over everything, but he goes, it's whatever you consider a weed is a weed. He goes, in all honesty, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was just like, I got in trouble by the village, because I had this weed that was really big. It was the prettiest purple daisy looking flower I ever had in my life. It was beautiful. I was like, the guy calls me up because, no, that's a weed. It's a carrot family. I'm like, it's beautiful. Leave my weed alone.
I had that too. And we have one that grows in this one spot in our yard but the bees love it. But then when it goes to flower, apparently it's, what is it?
It's
not
It's an invasive species.
invasive species.
Yeah. So
But once it goes to poof and all the seeds grow out, it goes everywhere. But the bees love it, and it is pretty, and I do like it. And then last year we had mullein growing up and didn't realize that that's what it was. But the same thing, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But then they kept popping up all over, and I thought, well, maybe that is a weed, and pulled it, and then found out that it's actually a really good herb. So anyway,
I was listening to some people. They were coming up the street, and this little kid goes, "Mom, why does she have all these milk weeds? They're weeds in her garden." Because I do. And I was like, but everybody loves them. Like all the bugs love these milkweeds. You know what I mean? It's like, how can I say no to a milkweed, And their pods look like little alien sacs. It's so awesome.
well, especially monarch butterflies. Do they migrate through there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I have some that stay with me, like 2 or 3 that will stay and go around the house. That's what they do. Go to the little things. Awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Fantastic. So I did have a quick question about your booklet, Kathy. I know it's part of your retreats and going to have the workshops. Can you get just the booklet to do like self-study, or it has to be a part of the other authors?
Okay. Right now it has to be part of the class because of the things that we're doing and the empowerments that I'm doing.
Makes sense, yeah.
Things are changing. I already got some messages a week ago. So, I don't know, but right now, no.
Okay. Yeah,
thank you for the question. But right now, it's kind of like, I finally understand Colleen, and when I was so excited with the animal Reiki, so excited. I was through the roof, and I was like, come on, Colleen, what's going on? I was praying, come on. And it's like, the energy will continuously work with you, but you gotta listen, gotta be patient, And I was like, oh, now I feel it. I understand now because I was so impatient.
So true, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing, Kathy. It was such a lesson to, same thing. We thought, oh, William asked us to write the animal Reiki book. It's like, oh yeah, we got this. And, give us about 6 months and we'll have it. And it's the energy saying, no, the energy's not ready yet.
Yeah.
What?
We're all excited.
I'm all ready. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the energy is like, nope, not ready yet.
It was phenomenal. So
3 years later is when the energy finally said it's ready. And we had been writing it the whole time. And that's when then Robyn and Pamela Block joined us and kept working with it. But it is such a process of listening if you're going to write that way. Yeah. Where you let the material write you or let the material write through you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. And that's, I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm enjoying the whole ride of it and listening. And now at least I'm grounded with it. It's like in the beginning, it was like, do I do this? Do I do that? What is going on? Why is this happening to me over all these years? And Reiki's like, relax. This is part of you. And this is part of your journey. You're very evolved in your heart space. Let's just relax and let's get this information going. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it's a skill in itself.
Yeah, it is.
Because it was really, it took a lot of receiving Reiki. We did so many journeys with Reiki. We did so many meditations with it to listen to it and really, truly stay out of the way. That in itself is a skill. And I would have to say that often enough, it was a mind skill, like, no, don't get in the way. Don't do it, and then the rest of it was just letting the heart come through.
Yeah.
Listening.
Give you all that information. Yeah. See?
Yeah. And so I just want to clarify again, you said that you wrote your book by speaking the book.
Mhm.
And so
So,
did you use Microsoft Word for that and
so
the
I
microphone?
actually, I'm a Google person, so I have not bought Microsoft Word. So I use Google Docs. And that's what I use completely, because then if I have somebody that like check things over or whatever I need, they could go, I give them the link, boom, it's there. You know what I mean? So I'm a Google Doc girl. So I actually just do voice to text with Google Docs, and I just started downloading the information. And then I had one of my friends that goes over books and stuff, and I asked her to read it to me because I wasn't sure what all the information I was saying. And she was like, "This is amazing, Kathy." She's like, "Did you?" I was like, "I just got done. This is crazy. I am still up there, you know." But yeah, so I just kind of
Don't
worked with that.
remember what I said because it
Exactly.
just
You know,
channeled
I mean, I
through.
knew a little bit. I knew like I had
Yeah.
the feelings, and all these feelings were coming through me, but like I did never had time the whole time doing the book is to sit there and think about what I said,
Yeah.
because it was just coming out, and I was like, okay, whatever this says, is this really it? And I'm like, and then she's like, you don't have to change anything.
Yeah.
You might want to add to, and I did. I added a little bit more where the workshops are coming
Yeah.
through and the exercises and stuff. But yeah, I kind of like went through it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good
As
for me.
channelers, we get it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't
And
remember what
Reiki
I said a
helped
half an
me,
hour ago.
and Reiki helped me with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like my friend saying, hey, you know, that vibration, I'm here with you. Now let's put this all together, you know, this pattern, and you could do this. This is going to come a little easy for you. Just relax, believe in yourself. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like I started with it. The retreats are super easy for me to do. The research of it, to put it out there. And right away, I made up a Facebook group, and I got about, I don't know, it's like 900 some people followed me, and they're not Reiki. So it's a kind of nice as a Reiki teacher practitioner is most of my people, there's one space that most of my people are not Reiki. You know, I don't even put Reiki too much in there. I just say a little bit, little things, you know what I mean? But it's just a way for me to, and Reiki's another technique, you know what I mean, to use. And it's the best technique I know, but it helped me as a practice, and I know where it's going. You know, I see the future, and it's like able to connect with people and cultivate that, and to put that together, you know. So yeah.
Fascinating. I didn't know that Google Docs did that, so that's why I asked.
Yeah.
So before, for the listeners, before we started recording the podcast, I told Kathy she may just need to have a podcast too. And so now hearing that that's how you wrote your book, if you can do that, gosh, because that's a skill in itself too, to be able to just speak that way.
I just didn't know what else to do. You
Yeah.
know, it just came, and that's what the guidance came, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. Let's put this together, you know. And that's how that happened. And I just trusted myself. You know, I trust myself a lot, but I also trust Reiki a little bit more. It always has my back. You know, it's like that vibration is so finite and so beautiful and pure that it always has my back, at least through me, you know, with my experience with Reiki over and over and over again, you know, kind of deal.
So did you just activate Reiki before you started speaking?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
tell
Oh,
us
well,
how you used Reiki?
so how I use Reiki. So I actually sat in front of my computer, and I was playing with stuff, and I was like, and all of a sudden I had this wave come through me, through my heart. And I was like, oh, okay. So I put my hands to my heart, and I activate Reiki, tried to listen to a little bit more. And it was me, you know what I mean? Me was talking to me. This is the whole book is about, you know, me talking to me, and the information coming through. And I was like, and it just said, put Google up, put your microphone on, and you're going to start talking about what you experienced, and what some of the beings have told you, you know. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. And my head started going, bleh. I gave myself Reiki a little bit more, cried a little bit, let a little release out, gave myself Reiki, and I was like this, you know, and then it just started coming. And and the feeling was to me, because I'm a big feeler, the feeling was to me, no one's going to see this. It's okay. Just say whatever you want to say. This is the manuscript. Not you could change anything you want. I was like, okay, I can do that. I'll talk about anything. and then I just started. I just started and started. I started with the history of it, how beginning, how in that kind of like helped me out, getting that clear focus of me, how I started my process with it and different things and my tasks that were given and how it came about. And then I just started with the information after that. It's kind of like when you start talking, then you get it rolling and then
Yep.
it comes out, you know what I mean? And then it makes you feel good. You're like, okay, whatever. I didn't know it was going to be published. So and this is another experience for me to trust myself,
Yeah.
To trust the information that has come to me. And it might not be for everybody or anybody, but it's for me. And that's good enough,
Well, and that's what we all have to find is our way.
Yeah.
And I love that you shared that part of it. Like, oh, I did it. I was nervous. I cried. I was, because we can look at things after the fact and know that we can manage our mind all around it. But when we're going through the feelings in the moment of like, oh, I'm doing this, or oh, it's not working yet, or all of the different things, letting Reiki come in, using the skills and tools that we have. And so I love for people to hear that, we still have feelings around it.
Yeah.
Like you still had feelings around it all to manage, work through, do anyway, find the way that you could go. It doesn't matter because it's just for me, and whatever happens, I can do whatever with it. So I love that you shared that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the truth. It's the truth. I developed a couple other little different classes, like little workshops of psychic skills and stuff. That's something actually I developed after Animal Reiki Masters from you. Like all of a sudden, I was able to talk about my psychic abilities and I was able to do a class. And here again, Animal Reiki. Oh, really? Yeah, really. Completely, really. I mean, that changed my whole entire life. And it was like, and I was able to do that and formulate a class. So it was like little stepping stones. So it wasn't so scary for me, but I wasn't seeing a huge output of everything. You know what I mean? Kind of deal. So it was like, Reiki just helped me through these stepping stones, whatever I needed to start doing, my major healing, right? And to help other people as I heal too.
So what part of animal Reiki, what was the energy that feels like it brought that about your psychic abilities? I mean, I think you had those already, but
yes,
to bring it through in a way that it wanted to be a class.
I was in the beginning, I was quite confused after Animal Reiki Master because it was a lot of energy and it was the earth. I felt the earth's light in me. And it was like I was able to communicate really good with her. And I've always been connected, but really, really communicate. And I was like, wow, there's something in the earth. Like there's a lot of I never went to any other classes like that. I was like, oh no, there's everything in the earth. We're just living outside the earth. It was a big whoa, and connecting. And then as her light and the animal Reiki and the guides, they just started helping me. It started clearing me out. And one day I was talking to Karen Cagg and she just took it. And she was saying some major things were happening to her that she wasn't understanding. And we're like, well, let's calm down. Let's focus this on ourselves, and just bring in the animal Reiki. And it just started clearing us out. And I just started the next morning, I just started writing. I was like, I know how to talk about this. I know how to relate to people with it. It was kind of like it just happened. And all I could think logically, I could think it cleared me out. The earth, we are earthlings, and the earth is a big part of our nurturing and our whole orbit. Hey, look how it all went out. Our orbit and our own self-care and everything. And our psychic abilities is part of us. We all psychic, we're all healers, we're all creators, we're all manifestors, we're all that. It's just some connect a little deeper. And that energy just connected me to be me being a human being. And my psychic abilities came out to be able to teach it. and reach people. You know, you could say things and sometimes you don't connect, right? And you're like, oh, that didn't go well, that didn't connect, you know. But then something with the energy helped me connect through people. And it was just amazing to me. So I thank you so much, Colleen, to bring that energy in. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw, when we were writing it. And Robyn and I, of course, have done a lot of work with it together. And I think one of the biggest pieces is when she and I were talking to William, and he popped in and said something, and I don't even remember exactly the words he said, but made us realize it was its own energy. Mm-hmm. And that earth energy that really connected us to our to that humanity, the humanness, and our authentic intellect, because our authentic intellect does have that ability, psychic, everything. I mean, it just opens the door to remember so much.
So I would say that's what natural. Did. You know what I mean? The word, the intellect. It just kind of, it did something, and it wasn't something I had to really work on. It just came, and it was like, wow, I could talk. And for me to say I could talk about it at that point in time, you know what I mean? It's a little, people think, Kathy, you talk all the time now. I'm like, yeah, but you got to get me going, or I get very, very nervous. Like before here, I was super nervous, and Colleen relaxed me and everything went good. But it was like, the energy actually relaxes you a lot. That's how my relationship with it. It just completely, it's beautiful. I love everything to do with it. I love everything to do with it. I use it every morning, everywhere I go. Mm-hmm. My land loves it. The environment loves it. I put it out there. So I had a retreat in November, and outside, you actually walk outside, and there's 532 acres of trails of Governor Dodge Forest. And this is one of the highlights. People love it. I mean, just love it. And they just go out there and go crazy. And here we are in November in Wisconsin, the first weekend of November. We could have 6 feet of snow, easy. I was scared. I was nervous, and I gave prayers, and I put animal Reiki out there because animal Reiki seems to work with the elements and the weather with me. And so I was just giving prayers. Love, 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 love. Oh, please, 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 please. Do you know it was 60 degrees that weekend? Everybody's like, what just happened? It was really negative, it was getting in the negatives, and also 60, 55, it was 50 in the morning. They got to 60. I was like, oh, this is nice to walk, and it was just, and whatever it was. But to me, it was animal Reiki. Every morning I was asking for just a nice day. And then I started saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm in menopause. So not me get warm. Everybody's a little warm. I didn't want to be like cold and everybody's freezing and I'm on menopause hot, So I was like, no, just have the temperature, a nice little temperature, please, please, please. And it went that way. And it's just like,
And then at some moments when it reached 60, you were really hot. Everybody else was feeling good.
I didn't have my coat on. I was sweating a little bit. Yeah, I was like, it's good. We're up on the cliff, okay, But yeah, it was absolutely fun. And because I work with Reiki in my life, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what frequency it is. It's like it will let you know. Use this one. This one will work really good with this kind of harmony, or this or that or whatever. But yeah, Holy Fire and Animal Reiki, they're my buddies.
Well, Kathy, when's your next retreat? I know you're starting to do them a couple times a year, right?
Yeah. I had to go through that part. Yeah. So I am doing retreats in June and November of every year. So now I do 2 a year. So, and the next one is, and the June one typically has another LMRT that works with me, is Karen Kag. And so I always invite her to be my co-partner in it. And each retreat's a little different. So in the summertime, you get an extra day, and we have a ball. So we have a whimsy ball. People dress up. People like it too. Whimsy ball. We have curtain. We're having a curtain concert with us, and we have a healing share. And then we're going to do the heart activation kind of stuff. So there's like always something going on. But it's June 27th through the 30th in June. And then I have in November will be the first weekend always in November. And that is November 1, 2, and 3. So it's 3 days. So the June is 4 days, 3 nights, and the November is 2 days and 3 nights. I mean, sorry, 3 days and 2 nights. Sorry. Yeah.
That's all
So it's
right.
1 day less, but I do that on my own. So
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So
And how do people find that? If
they go on my website.
More. Okay.
Wisconsin Reiki, just like Wisconsin, the state, and then Reiki put it together.com. And it's right underneath retreats. And so when you click on the different things, it will tell you my sponsors that have sponsored and give gifts. So in the June one, we get lots of gifts. And so when you walk in your room, you get a basket full of gifts, and it's just so fun. So we have sponsors that give that out. And so you'll see what kind of gifts are out there. You'll see the schedule, so you can click schedule. So there's different little links I like to tell people they could click on to get the information and like who the curtain people are, the concerts and things like that. And, heart intelligence and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then you teach regular Reiki, 1 and 2, Master Karuna, and Animal Reiki. And then are you also a practitioner? Like, do you do sessions at this point, or not as much because you're so busy teaching?
No, I do sessions.
Yeah.
I do online sessions and in person. So
Okay.
I do a lot of sessions, all different kind of sessions. But yeah.
Fantastic. And then I know you have a lot of groups. I'm a part of Reiki Studio, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. So if people go to your website, do you have all of your different groups?
So
and
you
things
can
listed
look in there. Yeah, you can look in
Great.
there. It'll be under it'll be under Reiki Studio. And
Great.
Reiki Studio is just a Facebook group that I started when I first moved here because I didn't know what else to do to meet people. And so it's just any Reiki practitioner, any lineage, whatever, you know what I mean? It's just a community of people getting together and talking Reiki, whatever they want to talk about, or just
It's really
empowering each
helpful
other.
for people that don't maybe have a Reiki community in their community. You can go and find support and talk about these things.
Just makes it nice.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. I think, Colleen, unless there's anything else, Kathy, that you want to mention about what you're doing, and this was so fun.
Thank you.
And very inspirational. I just love all that you're doing always. We always see all the things that you're doing, and then just really hearing more in depth about it. It's really inspiring to me, and just a reminder to everyone to listen to Reiki and or to listen to that heart guidance, I guess, too, and trust yourself.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. I feel special and honored.
You are special, whether you were here or not.
You are too.
And as far as we're concerned, you can find all of our classes. Our distance Reiki share, signing up for that is free and online and weekly. And anything else for us, you can find that at reikilifestyle.com. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy and Robyn and everybody listening. And for some reason, I hear some of the animal companions that are in people's homes while they're listening. I can feel them feeling it all.
Maybe Jared.
Yeah.
Maybe Jared's in here listening.
I got a couple of them in there. I told them all to be good.
Right. Maybe it's yours. But all of a sudden they popped in and said, you have to mention us, by the way.
Jared's Reiki is Kathy's cat, by the way. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, like Jared.
He likes to teach animal Reiki.
Very cute.
Great. He's a great guy.
Well, thank you so much again, Kathy, and WisconsinReiki.com, Kathy Milanowski. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.